wait until the meter recharges, bogging down the pace. It's a very minor thing, but it eventually adds up. I don't have to worry about that sort of limit with Carol because of her wall jumping abilities, and when she gets her bike power up, it's a blast running through enemies and scaling walls swiftly. But without the bike, Carol is not as nimble as Lilac, and she has a slightly harder time with enemy threats when she has to battle in the first place. At the very least, she's not Mila, a third character you can unlock after certain events unfold in the story. I think she's supposed to be the hard mode via limitations. She has an amazing double jump that's like Yoshi's Flutter Jump in Yoshi's Island, and she has great defensive capabilities with her shield, but her attack options are nearly non-existent. A green block that takes a bit of time to materialize, and a dinky laser that could leave her wide open if she doesn't hit with it. This isn't much of a problem during stages where combat can be mostly avoided, but in boss fights she has to play the waiting game a lot, and that wasn't very fun for me. Now, boss fights with Lilac and Carol, oh my goodness, one of the best things about Freedom Planet. This is where I was reminded of Gunstar Heroes the most. These boss fights are so extravagant, a number of them being formidable just on sheer size. And even when they're not large and in charge, they're testing your reflexes with how fast they can move from one spot to another. They supply the game's biggest challenge, and given the nostalgic nature of Freedom Planet, you're gonna get your ass kicked if you don't begin to recognize the pattern of attack and exploit it. But once you've figured out how to avoid this strategy or learn how to avoid danger while providing the danger yourself, that slow motion finish at the end of the battle will be all the more satisfying. I am very happy to say that Freedom Planet was a lovely experience from beginning to end. Just as a warning though, because this is something I can't ignore no matter how much fun I had. I had two separate occasions where the graphics and frame rate started to stutter and outright flip the fuck out a few seconds later. Soon afterwards, the game would crash and I had to restart the level. This didn't happen at all during my first run-through when I wasn't recording myself, but the moment I brought out the capturing software, yikes, instant graphical seizure. I'm not sure what's exactly to blame. I like to know if it's the game or my computer, but just to be safe, make sure nothing else is running in the background when playing Freedom Planet, unless you have the specs and RAM to safely do so. After the disappointment that was Sonic Boom, Freedom Planet did more than enough to fill the void. For $15, Freedom Planet offers a better fast-paced experience with more to do and better production values than what the $50 Sonic Boom could ever hope to achieve. So if you get a gift card this holiday or just have $15 standing by and you're looking for a great time, you get Freedom Planet. Show Galaxy Trail some love and let them know that we would love to see more of this, and I hope they follow up with something even greater. And again, a very sincere thank you to Endless End for your generous contribution. I think it's time for another marathon, focusing on games I received as donations throughout this past year. But for my last review of 2014, I'm going to keep a promise I made last year after reviewing Super Meat Boy by giving a previously visited game another shot now that it has a console re-release. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and I'll be looking at it on the PlayStation 4. I hope you guys look forward to that, and I hope you consider giving Freedom Planet a shot. With all that said, thank you guys for watching, have yourselves a great night, and take care. He's all I use. He has flight, so he can fly over pits and awkward layouts, and his weapon, though short range, is fucking brutal, and at times, I was able to even counterbalance that by getting awesome add-ons like Brimstone. Oh god, I love Brimstone. A giant laser that rips through everything. Even better when you collect the triple or quadruple shot item. Here it comes, BAM! Complete decimation. That feeling, the power you can get when you happen to get great items, whether it kicks serious ass by itself or complements another item and thus makes an even greater weapon, was negating my animosity towards my previously failed attempts to some degree. I do my best when the RNG isn't completely agreeing with me, that or I reset the game about 20 times until I get a good starting item, but to see my little Isaac grow more and more into a demonic badass that's capable of thwarting Satan is sincerely amazing. To see everything that the Binding of Isaac Rebirth offers is a task that requires the utmost of dedication, and most importantly, and I'll say it again and again until my fingers are worked to the bone, luck. Are you willing to go against those odds, to roll those dice and attempt to enjoy the awesome tools and methods of completing dungeons when you get them? If so, then have at it. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth will deliver on the goods. You better be ready though. When you're looking for specific things, the means to access new content like bosses or challenges, The Binding of Isaac sort of becomes what I classify as a guide game, kind of like Zelda 1 if we're going back to that comparison. You won't know what a new or previously undiscovered item does until you pick it up, which at that point is impossible to get rid of in case it's harmful to your current standing. The game is vague on what certain things do and how to reach new places, and I'm sure that was intentional for the sake of having you replaying the game again and again until you find your answers, if that happens at all. You're going to spend a long time on this one, and I can only hope luck is on your side for the duration. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth is not for the faint of heart, and I'm not just saying that for the sake of a visual pun or the game's visuals period. I'm more of a Super Meat Boy guy than a Binding of Isaac player, but hey, kudos to the development team for how much the game is being sold for. They sure did produce a game with a shitload of replayability and total playtime. From all of us here at Some Call Me Johnny, which me. I wish you all happy holidays and a glorious new year. Now, speaking of that, I'm looking to make 2015 a great year for this channel. I'll be going back to previously visited franchises in celebration of new stuff coming out, and be on the lookout for any curveballs I may decide to throw your way. Could be reviews of new games or old. Hey, might even be a cartoon somewhere in there. I haven't done one of those in a while. I did go to school for that sort of shit. You'll just have to wait and see. So for my first order of business of 2015, well, I got this box here, and it's filled to the brim with stuff that fans have donated to me throughout the past year, and I think it's finally time we open this baby up. But what will come first? Oh, looks like a crap bag, isn't it? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what it is until the time comes. In the meantime, thank you all for your wondrous support throughout 2014. You guys have yourself a fantastic night, and most importantly, take care. Here and there, as well as some enemies to slowly drain their health. But you know, let's just also throw a shitload of Slurpees everywhere, because fuck it, Corey's a chunky chunk fuck, and chunky chunk fucks love Slurpees. We can't be having any sort of challenge for our players, but we also don't want to be just a jogging simulator. Let's have this dumbass play this simple connect the wire game, and then have him lock himself inside the janitor closet, then switch to the go to do something similar, only with this remote control bug with super sensitive stylus controls. Oh, the fucks are just at 0 for these sequences, ladies and gentlemen. And then, let's just switch back to Corey, because after all, it is Corey in the house, even if he's not in said house anymore. A more accurate title would be Corey in the what the fuck. So, in their attempt to pad out the game to make players think they're getting the most out of their money, what's the total runtime of Corey in the house? 3 hours. 3 hours, and I'm pretty sure 2 of those hours had nothing to do with anything. Suddenly there's the final boss, and suddenly there's the ending. They insist I replay the game to find some secret bobbleheads, but I already took the game out of my DS. May you find new purpose as a dust collector, Corey. Britton, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I appreciate your generosity, but dude, I really hope you didn't pay $12.95 for this. This game is barely worth $2.95. A shining example of a poorly made licensed game that's about as much fun as one of your leg hairs getting snagged on your pair of jeans. I can't say I'm terribly surprised. A lot of you are probably wondering why I even wasted my time, and yours by some extension. But I like to keep an open mind when I can. You never know when something actually turns out to be a piece of gold rather than a piece of shit. Plus, it was donated to me, so those will always hold a special place in my heart no matter what the game. But we're just getting started here, folks, so let me reach into the box and see what we have in store for us for next week. I doubt it's any more obscure than Corey in the house. Oh, come on! It is borderline amazing on how little this game offers and how unpolished it is. So how could I not invite my friends and family for a 4-player adventure? Look at this right here. You couldn't get any manlier than 4 grown-ass men playing this fucking party game. For the first 20 minutes, I was seriously considering complimenting Mary-Kate and Ashley's Sweet 16 License to Drive for one thing. It made excellent riffing material for me and my friends when we got started. But because of how utterly long it takes to finish just a single board, because of how a large number of things are unclear on how they work, if they work at all, even after consulting the manual, and because it's so fucking dull, I couldn't even grant the game that much. This is what we looked like when we started, and this is what we looked like when we couldn't take it anymore, from just one board with the lowest amount of turns selected. So without further ado, here's just a small sample of what me and the guys experienced when we played Mary-Kate and Ashley's Sweet 16 License to Drive for the first time. We are so off. They're constantly switching the poses. The fucking she's on fire! It's the same thing as the fucking kayak game. Yeah. That's what it seems like. That's what it is. Why is the fire going through her? That's what I just said. Ow! Oh, I'm hungry. What the hell just happened? What happened to me? Whoa! Did you sink? I sank. What? How? You flipped through the fucking floor. Oh, that's a strikeout. That was going over the camera. Oh, how are we doing this? It was like Guitar Hero? Yeah, I pressed the right button, I guess, wherever the company comes. Oh my god, it is Guitar Hero. Perfect cupcake. Perfect cupcake. Perfect cupcake. Oh, no fucking... Oh, this is gonna get annoying. Perfect cupcake. Strudel? No, it's not getting faster, it's just that there's more coming. God, yeah, I'm coming, alright. Perfect cupcake. Don't jizz on the fucking jizzer! I'm coming too soon! I'm so new to brain really fucked this up, dude. What? When did you do that? I did that. What? What the hell? What? What is... Yes! Did you get this? Yes! Yes! Fucking great! The game is complete! I'm going home! It is finally bugged the fuck out, John! Turn it off, brother! Oh my god! What? Why? You're in a blue boy! Oh, I prove that this game is realistic. Oh god! Oh shit! Oh, Jesus Christ! That was pretty. Yeah, that's what we needed. That's on the camera. That's what we needed. Back to where I fell is funny, but only a few times. God damn! My apologies if I can't thoroughly explain this bit properly. I think the game looks fine, but there's something about the color choice I find both lively and bleak at the same time. Like, even in the jellyfish fields, there seem to be what I call dark patches that wash out the entire picture, doubly so for downtown Bikini Bottom. Need I bring up Kelp Forest again? Perhaps a cel-shaded approach would have brought out the cartoonish nature of the series in a better fashion. I tend to think that a lot when 2D cartoons are given 3D games. Battle for Bikini Bottom, aside from the SpongeBob SquarePants coat of paint, is a standard 3D platformer. You collect stuff to get the important stuff and use the important stuff to unlock other areas to continue collecting more stuff. I love the checkpoint system, I love the visual humor like I said before, but I've played this sort of game plenty of times beforehand. And when you've already reviewed Super Mario 64, I begin to focus on what other games and franchises do to stick out from the crowd, and I don't think Battle for Bikini Bottom does much of that, so I feel there's no real need to get very deep into it. Fans of SpongeBob SquarePants can find something to enjoy here, and I'm sure kids will love it, even if it is nearly 12 years old nowadays. And once again, a very special thanks to Wayne, or Fliglaba. It's written in parentheses here. I'm guessing that's a YouTube username or something like that. It was very nice of you to donate this game for us, and I'm sure with the guys over at SGB can get some mileage out of this, get a laugh and all of that. I hope you don't mind if I get a CD case for this. I was never really big on the GameStop used slip-on covers, so I want to give this CD a proper home and do that. I'm like that. I'm sorry if you take that the wrong way. And as always, guys, you can find me here next week with the next video for the Donators Marathon. Same time, same place. Have yourselves a great night. Thank you for watching, and take care. And so, another game finished for the Donators Marathon. But what Johnny doesn't know is that this latest adventure for him is just beginning. Oh, he has no idea. It was something Raz would use automatically as the story went on, and I spent about 5 minutes aimlessly wandering, questioning what I needed to do. When you're required to constantly pause the game to equip certain items to move along in the level, or to collect things like cobwebs or to switch power-ups, that sort of builds up after a while, kind of disrupts the pace ever so slightly for me. I say all that, but Psychonauts is still only about a 10-hour adventure, and that's including all of the exploring I did for Arrowheads to buy some upgrades. There's plenty to do after the fact, like searching for hidden items to get more backstory on things. I didn't even bring attention to the Figments, another collectible that increases your rank. They're all over the damn place, and you gotta get them all to complete a save file. There's no real point besides bragging rights, and I feel that's not what's really important for this video in particular. Still, I'm glad to have finally experienced this. It's good to play a game that manages to deliver on the gameplay, even if it is very procedural, and also deliver a good story with entertaining writing and characters. It wanted to stick out from the crowd with its interesting visual style and art direction, without shoving its head up its ass. There's nothing wrong with a game trying to be more than just a video game, but I play a video game to, play a video game, and have a good time. Psychonauts isn't what I consider homework for a video gamer, something you absolutely have to play at least 5 times during your life, but at some point you should consider popping it in and see what's being offered here. If you're interested, Psychonauts is available for Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, and Steam for about $10, and it's a good deal, so you should jump on that when you can, if you want to buy the game, which I think you should. So on to the next game. Let me reach inside here. Mega Man Network Transmission. Okay, we're headed back to the world of Mega Man next week, folks, so I'll get to work on that, and I'll see you all then.